Made it to 20 episodes, heading into 2020. Got a big fight this weekend. Looking forward to it. Before we hop into that, want to get all the house cleaning out the way. Make sure you check us out on Instagram at You Can't Play Boxing. That's UCANTPLAYBOXING. So this episode gonna primarily talk about the Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz 2 match, which is coming out tomorrow. And the reason I kind of hold the podcast to the day before the fights because I like to really look at a few things. So we're gonna dive into that. But before we get into that, we're gonna talk about some things that happened this week. So this week had a big day in hip hop for a couple reasons. One reason is it was Jay-Z turning 50. Well, at least he says he's 50. Some people believe Hov is older than that, but he turned 50. Yes, it's actually a couple days ago. So shout out to J-Hov. You know what I'm saying? Been a big inspiration in my life just from afar. You know what I'm saying? Just seeing his moves and stuff like that. Definitely been the soundtrack of my life for some of his albums for over 20 years now, over half my life. So shout out to Hov. Matter of fact, since Hov has been a big part of my life as far as musically, listen to Hov for more than 20 years. I'm going to go over my top 5 Jay-Z albums. Now, Jay-Z has over 13 solo albums, about 5 collaborative albums with Kanye and all that, and R. Kelly and Beyonce. So he up to damn near 20 albums. But I'm going to give you my top 5. I know some of these albums may be controversial as far as why I put them. But, this is my personal top 5 Jay-Z albums. And another reason why this is a big week is because unless you got Tidal, Jay-Z albums were kind of most of his albums was relegated to Tidal, and it wasn't on Apple Music and Spotify. And I tried Tidal before, it just didn't work out as far as my personal preferences and shit like that. But shout out to Tidal too. So diving into it, my number 5 Jay-Z album is his latest one. The last one he came out with, which is 444. And not only am I going to give you my top 5, I'm going to give you what song I like off each album. So my favorite song off of 444 was Family Feud. I like the sample. It was just a dope track. So number 5 was 444. Came out in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. So recent album. Number 4 as my top 5 Jay-Z album. Number 4 is American Gangster. American Gangster came out in 2007. It was pretty much the soundtrack to the American Gangster movie. Came out the same year with Denzel Washington. And I felt that album really kind of gave Hov a different spirit because, at that time, Hov was coming off of, to me, a dud album, which is kind of not American Gangster, Kingdom Come. And I think that American Gangster kind of gave him the ability to kind of show, what he could still do and give him the inspiration. And it was really a solid piece of work. He had Blue Magic on there. You had Rock Boys. You had, what's another one that's Success with Nas. There's a lot of dope songs on there. But number 4, as far as the song that I like the most on the album, I like Party Life. Party Life, produced by, what's the dude? Sean C and LV. Dope song. Definitely one of my top Hov songs, period. So number 4 is American Gangster. Now number 3, I think is going to be controversial a little bit, but hey, this is my list, so fuck it. You know what I'm saying? But the album that really put me on a whole a lot, and I knew Jay-Z, of course, previous to this album, but this album is what made me kind of check for him a lot and start going back to the older albums and diving into them more. But my number 3 album is In My Lifetime, Volume 2, Hard Knock Life. You know what I'm saying? This is the album that put Hov on the map as far as he went, 5-time platinum. And at that time, he kind of took over the rankings as far as being the mythical, king of New York. But it's kind of going back to that time, this came out in 1998. So a lot of people didn't like Volume 1 that he came out with. They felt he was kind of going commercial and just didn't fit. Just didn't seem right. He had a couple standout songs like Where I'm From, but Volume 1, Imaginary Players is another good song. And but Volume 1 as a whole was not received well. So Volume 1 came out the year before. Volume 2 came out in 98. Of course, everyone loved, Reasonable Doubt. But Volume 2, man, I like it because to me it was Hov really kind of walking the thin line of being, lyrical but also commercial, and then having a swag and just he was popping his shit at the time, you know what I'm saying? So I love Volume 2. Some of my standout songs, I like that song with Bleak, Coming of Age, Volume 2. I like It's Alright, but that was on Kid Capri album that came out a couple months before that. I like Money Cash Hoes. I like Jigga What, Jigga Who. But my favorite song from Volume 2 is Reservoir Dogs with Beanie Siegel. The first song we heard Beanie Siegel on, Sauce Money and the Locks. They was going back and forth on the Eric Sermon production, man. That's an all-time classic to me. You can debate who had the best verse on there, but I think Jay killed it. So I gave that first verse. I gave the best verse on that song to Jay. But you can debate on that. Number 2 was an album that came out on 9/11/2001. Album that is universally regarded as one of Jay-Z's best albums, so there's no controversy with this one. It's Blueprint. Man, this takes me back because Blueprint was an album, it came out officially on 9/11, but back then, bootlegging was heavy, so I remember getting this album maybe a week or two before it came out and burning CDs and selling these mugs. So my bad, Hov, I was a bootlegger in a past life. But yeah, Blueprint, number 2 album. Of course, album was produced primarily by Kanye West and Just Blaze. Man, you can't really front on this album. I mean, you got tracks like You Don't Know, Never Change, you know what I'm saying? And it's like a Sunday lyrical album. You can put the song on a Sunday, ride around to it, and just feel like you got everything you need. So this song that kind of put this in a capsule is Mama Loves Me, you know what I'm saying? So that's my favorite song off the Blueprint album. And my number 1 album, you can hear it in the background, it's Reasonable Doubt. Hov's first album came out in 1996. June 25th, 1996, or 26th, 1996. I remember this night because I was big into hip-hop at the time, and it came out a week before the Tribe album came out, and Nas album. I think Nas album came out the next week too, so. Anyway, Reasonable Doubt, dope album. We got, Feeling It, Dead Presidents 2, Politics as Usual, but my favorite song on Reasonable Doubt was Can I Live, and then you can hear the instrumental in the background. So those are my top 5 Jay-Z albums. There was a little hip hop, with this boxing podcast. In this podcast, it's like I said, boxing is the meat. But, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to give you some bread. We might talk about boxing. We might talk about, hip hop, politics, sports. Politics probably very little, but I might dive into it. Just whatever I feel like it really on our first segment. So So we're going to ride out. When we come back from this break, we're going to talk about the main event, what we came here to talk about, and that's the Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz fight 2 coming from Saudi Arabia. So kick back for a second, listening to this commercial, and we'll be back in like a minute or so. What's up? It's that time of the show where we kind of give a shout out to our sponsors. The sponsor today is Anchor. Anchor is everything you need to create your own podcast. You can use Anchor to distribute your show. They'll kind of get it out for you. And all you have to do is do it from your cell phone or your microphone, however you want to do it. But if you want to get your voice out there, if you want to talk to the people, there's no better place to do it than Anchor. So download the app, Anchor, or go to their website, anchor.com. It'll distribute your podcast on all platforms. So again, Anchor. All right. We back. So You Can't Play Boxing Podcast, episode 20. Like I said, we're going to talk about what we came to talk about. That's going to be that Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz fight. The rematch. Numero 2. Or 2, or whatever, dos, or whatever, you know. So, gonna get into this fight real quick. You know, we're talking about 3 belts on the line. Andy Ruiz beat Anthony Joshua 6 months ago in New York on June 1st. Just personal reference, I really didn't think Anthony Joshua had a shot at losing the fight, the original fight. I didn't even watch the fight live. Like, I didn't make sure that I watched the fight. But I was out in Union Square in San Francisco at the time. And then I was like, man, let me turn on the fight and see what was going on. Or maybe I got on Twitter or something. And then I saw it was a fight. I started watching the fight as I was walking through the city. And, you know, it was amazing to see what happened in June. You know, I remember watching. That's going to be one of my boxing moments of all time, catching that fight live with, walking in the city, seeing what happened, you know, so it's crazy. But anyway, we are going to get into this fight. We're going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of each one and, who I think going to win the fight. So we're going to start off with Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, of course, is 22-1. Anthony Joshua is, how old is Anthony Joshua? I think he's 28 years old or something? I don't know how old he is, something like that. But he's 30 years old. So, you know, only got one loss. The one loss to Andy Ruiz, 21 KOs. You know, and he talking about Andy Ruiz, you know, he 33-1. 33-1, 22 KOs, one loss. His one loss is to what's the dude? Joseph Parker. Yeah, he lost to him majority decision 3 years ago. So, all right, let's go into let's tap into it, man. Let's talk about the fight and see what I think and what's going to happen. So, all right, here it is. Joshua's strength is, if I'm Joshua, this is what I do. I'm 6'5", 6'6", whatever. I got a long reach. I'm a gold medal Olympian. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not coming off the street. I got hands. I'm going to use my strengths. I'm going to use my reach. I'm going to use my length. I'm going to, pause. I'm going to use my jab. I'm going to keep Andy Ruiz to the outside. And if I'm Joshua, I'm going to fight. Being that I just got knocked out and knocked down 4 times against this dude, I'm going to fight a Vladimir Klitschko sort of fight. I'm going to use jab. And if he gets in the inside, I'm going to grab. And then I'm going to use jab. If I fight that fight with my skills and remain focused, even though it's boring, I'm going to win this fight easily if I do that. So that's Joshua's strength. Ruiz's strength is that if I'm Ruiz, I got the somewhat psychological advantage. So I'm going to try to get to the inside. I got fast hands, so I want to get in and out. I want to dart in and out, kind of like a heavyweight, Manny Pacquiao a little bit. I want to dart in, dart out, turn him. I want to turn Joshua. I want to keep him guessing, keep him off kilter, and make it hard for him, and make it. And then with my wins, whatever I do, I want to keep it like that. They had the weigh-in. A lot of times, people ask me, why don't you put the podcast out early in the week? When it comes to a fight, I try to look at everything that's happening that week. I look at the interviews. I look at the media stuff. I look at the press conferences. And I definitely want to look at, what's happening as far as the weigh-in. So this morning, we had the weigh-in. And for the weigh-in, Joshua came in at 237, which is 10 pounds lighter than he came in for the previous fight. And Ruiz was 15 pounds heavier than he was. He's at 283. Now, Ruiz did have on a sombrero and he had on a tank top. So some people think he could be faking out Joshua. And I will say this, if Ruiz is using psychological advantage and he pulls his win off, he's a GOAT, a mental GOAT. He's up there with Andre Ward or Bernard Hopkins as far as mentally playing with you. But my inclination, and I'm going to start going over my prediction. My inclination is that Joshua, from looking at everything, he's very serious. I put it like this. Anthony Joshua at 100% of himself at his best versus Ruiz at 100% of his best, I would definitely say that Joshua should win. I would put money on it. I feel pretty confident in it. Now, don't get me wrong, it's heavyweight boxing, so anything can happen. But if I'm putting money on it and I'm confident in it, I feel pretty confident of Anthony Joshua winning this fight. I'm going to pick by KO. I think he'll knock him out round 10 or 11. I'm going to say Anthony Joshua by either KO or TKO in round 10 or round 11. But again, anything can happen. I will say if Ruiz wins, he deserves all the credit. I just see the hunger in Anthony Joshua to win this fight. So that's why I'm picking him to win. This fight has a lot riding on it. If Ruiz wins, you definitely looking at Ruiz fighting Deontay Wilder at some point, probably next year. Even if Deontay Wilder loses against Tyson Fury next year, because they both with PBC, so you definitely see that fight. And if Ruiz wins, Joshua's on the outside. I mean, he still got fights in his camp, like Usyk and everything, but I would, especially if he gets knocked out, I would dare to say Joshua might not even fight no more. He might retire. So I think mentally he would be broken if he loses again. I don't expect him to lose, but if he loses again, his career could be over. So I definitely think Joshua is going to win. I say by KO, but even if it goes to a decision, being that it's in Saudi Arabia, being that it's on DAZN and Matchroom is the promoter, there is very little chance I give Andy Ruiz winning a decision in Saudi Arabia. It shouldn't happen, but it's boxing, and you know that going into it. If you're part of the game, you know how the cards are stacked. So I would put money on Joshua to win this fight, but anything could happen. So that's why we're going to watch the fight. Fight comes on, I think, about 4 o'clock Eastern time, or 1 o'clock Pacific time. So, tune in. We're going to tune in and see what happens. I'm going to be back in a couple days with the recap, and we'll see what happens. So until next time, y'all, check us out on Instagram. That's UCANTPLAYBOXING. You Can't Play Boxing. And you can also email me at youcan'tplayboxing@gmail.com. See y'all in a couple days. Peace.